Okay, and it looks like we are live on Facebook. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Adriana Stewart and I'm currently a junior political science and sports medicine double major studying at Howard University, and I have the pleasure of serving as Paul Peck's social media intern. Paul Peck is continuing our interview series of our endorsed candidates so that you all can get to know them. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing District 26 State Representative candidate Joyce Schimenti. Joyce, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much. This is a pleasure. I thank you. I've been watching all your interviews, and I really want to take the opportunity to thank Paul Peck for supporting my candidacy. And not only mine, but just watching all the women around the state. It's been so impressive. I've been really inspired by the other women. So it's been great. And I want to thank Paul Peck.
Of course. And we're just going to go ahead and hop straight into the questions. So, while we are aware that you are running for District 26 House of Representatives seat, can you tell us about who you are outside of politics?
Yes, I am originally from Memphis, Tennessee. So I was born and raised there in a blue collar family and educated there. 23 years ago, my husband and I had an opportunity that we jumped on to move to Arkansas. If you live in Memphis, Tennessee, you always cross the river and you come to Arkansas for long weekends and holidays, vacations. So we had already fallen in love with Arkansas. And so we moved over here 23 years ago. My husband and I have been married 37 years. We have one adult son. And in case anybody is interested to know about how the world works, my son is the center of the universe. So everything spins around him, even though he's an adult. I am a social worker. I'm an LCSW. I got my master's degree at the University of Tennessee in Memphis. And for over 40 years, that's what I've done. I have practiced social work in the behavioral health field. Right now, for the past 20 years, I've worked at a community mental health center in Benton. If anybody knows anything about community mental health in this state, we've had a really good system for almost 50 years. And so that's what I've done for the past 20 years, is work for Counseling Clinic, Inc. But in addition to that, I'm a small business owner. I have been. My husband and I owned and operated a restaurant in our little community of Bismarck for almost 2 decades. So I understand what it takes to operate a small business, to meet a payroll, and to be a job creator, and also to work hard at 2 jobs.
That's amazing. You mentioned that you were involved in a lot of different things. You served as a licensed social worker, you worked in a community mental health center. You've also been a small business owner. So can you discuss how your work with all of those has helped to prepare you to run for office?
Oh yeah, good preparation, right? Listen, social workers, what we do and what I've done for 40 years is to advocate for other people, individuals and families. And we have a unique opportunity, social workers, to witness how policies that are in theory, how they impact real people on the ground. So I think that is the best preparation for being in the legislature, is the opportunity to see every policy that we create through that lens of social work. How is it going to impact people? Is it an equitable policy that's going to impact everybody the same way? Is there fairness in law? So I think that has really prepared me. The skill set of social workers is perfect for the legislature, because all we are about is about relationships, about compromise, about navigating systems. So I think it's prepared me well to go to the legislature. But the small business restaurant that we owned, that was a totally different kind of preparation. Um, you know, my husband and I were job creators in our small community. Our restaurant was open 7 days a week. We always had between 12 and 15 people that we hired in our little community. About half of those people were full-time employees. So we understand what it is to be a job creator, what it is to generate sales tax for our community. And we pay personal tax, property tax, sales tax. So we know how difficult it is to navigate that system. At the same time, we watched our governor hop on an airplane and go all the way around the world to offer tax breaks to other countries, to China even, to bring their jobs here to our country or to our state. So, you know, from that, I really have, you know, a strong desire to offer tax incentives in our own backyard to, you know, startups in our communities or small businesses who are job creators. You often hear people talk about, you know, small businesses are the engine of our economy, and they really are, but we don't get any breaks, and I think that we should. So that's how that's prepared me.
That's great. It sounds like you have amazing preparation to take
Oh, yeah,
office.
a lot of hard work.
Yes, for sure. And we're going to switch the gears here a little bit. So, you know, what moment, person, thing, or event inspired you to run for District 26's representative seat?
Well, actually, there are a couple of things. The main thing is healthcare, because like I've said, I've been in healthcare for 40 years. And if you're working healthcare, then you know firsthand how important access to care is. And you hear that, you know, kind of batted around a lot, access to care, access to care. But what that really means is today, everybody needs a ticket. You have to have in your wallet a card that says that you're insured. And that's how you get access to care. So, you know, working for 40 years in a clinic, I understand how important it is to have access to care. I think with COVID-19, a lot of people have had their eyes open to the fact that if some people don't have access to care, if we deny access to care to some people, well, it puts all of us at risk. So yeah, that's been a learning curve for all of us, but I think people in the healthcare industry were well aware of that for quite some time. What motivated me to run for office was because for the last few years in my clinic, I've watched as our state has decided that they're going to systematically kick people off of Medicare. And I've watched the culling of the rolls of Medicare. You know, even before Arkansas Works, which most people are familiar with, our state kicked off about 120 people from the rolls of Medicaid. And they did this for reasons that, well, for instance, they'd send out a letter to a Medicaid person that was on Medicaid. And if you didn't respond to that letter a certain amount of time, well, then your name was taken off the roll. So I watched that happen. And then I watched Arkansas Works developed and implemented. And we all know how that ended. I think in 3 short months, we kicked 18,000 people off of Medicaid. And the federal judge had to intervene to stop that program. So I've watched those things take place. I watched as our state currently pays an out-of-state vendor millions and millions and millions of dollars of Medicaid dollars for the sole purpose of erecting barriers to those who are on Medicaid to erecting barriers to their access so that they can't use their services. And that program, that vendor specifically targets, unfortunately, the most vulnerable people in our state. Those people that are targeted by that vendor are people that I'm familiar with in the mental health field, which is the seriously mentally ill, like schizophrenics, and also in the DD field, the developmentally disabled field, they're targeted. And also your grandma is targeted because seniors on Medicaid who need special services to stay in their homes are targeted, or seniors who have to have assisted living are targeted and denied their services. So those are the things that motivated me to think, hey, somebody needs to be in the legislature who knows on the ground what it's like for people who come in the door to the clinic and they may have had Medicaid last week, but this week they're kicked off. So that's the reason that I decided to run. But there was one more reason that I decided to run. I don't know if you can see my shirt or not, but I purposely, intentionally wore this shirt. This is my Mom's Demand Action shirt. And I'm very proud of this red shirt. I am a member of my local group, Moms Demand Action in Arkadelphia. And I'm also extremely pleased that Moms designated my candidacy as a common sense gun safety campaign. So I'm really proud of that. What motivated me about Moms is some of you may remember that last session, all of our red shirts descended on the Capitol many times during last session to try to prevent some gun laws that were going to create unsafe laws. I think our biggest success was we descended on the Capitol and we managed to stop the passage of a stand your ground law. So that has been tabled and we're real proud of that. But it's gonna rear its head again. And so that motivated me to run. It was so exciting to go to the Capitol, to be a part of the process, to see how it works. One of the things that inspired me to run was my representative refused to take my calls, never returned a call. I texted. It's pretty easy to return a text. I never got a text returned. Left messages, email messages, voicemail messages. Went to the Capitol and asked, for an audience. And my current representative, would never entertain any conversation with me. So that told me that I would be a different kind of representative than the one that's we have in our seat currently. I definitely would be the kind that would return your call, return your text, and want to know what people in District 26 are thinking. So those two things really motivated me to run for office.
Those are some great motivators. And someone asked, what is Moms Demand Action? Did you want to give a small feel about what the organization is?
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of people, have the wrong idea about it. And since I'm a Democrat, people think I'm, want to take your gun. I definitely support the Second Amendment. My family has guns. Moms Demand Action was about safety. And that's why they have this gun safety. They do a whole lot of teaching people that have guns or people that want to have guns, how you lock up guns safely and how you prevent accidents and violence in your home because of having a gun. So they don't care that you have a gun, but they want you to safely have a gun. And they do a lot of research, like the Stand Your Ground law. It's proven that in the states that it's passed, it hasn't made people safer. It's done just the opposite. It's raised the bar on the violence. But most people are way too young, I am not, to remember MADD, which is MADD. And MAD was an organization that was started by mothers who were tired of their kids being killed because of drunk drivers. So it was Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And I remember being very involved in that in the 80s. And it was a grassroots program, just like Moms. And we, as MAD, really changed the laws about driving drunk and really changed how many people die from drunk driving. And so that's how Moms began, is women were tired of sending their kids to school and them getting shot in the classroom, tired of violence in the schools. So one mom in particular decided to reach out to MAD and find out how to start a grassroots program. And she did. She designed it around the MAD program. So that's inspirational too, that it's just a bunch of women who want their children and their grandchildren to be safe.
Definitely, for sure. I've actually heard of MAD before also. I'm more so familiar with them than I am Moms Demand Action. But all that to say, both of them are very great organizations. They do a lot of great work. But to keep moving forward, some of your platform initiatives include healthcare, environment and industry, and taxes and income inequality. Can you discuss how you plan to enhance these areas within your district or state representatives?
Yeah, we've already talked about healthcare, and what I would do for healthcare is, unfortunately, every budget session in the legislature, Medicaid expansion comes up for discussion, and it's at risk. So the thing that I would do in the legislature is definitely vote to keep Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion provides insurance for 250,000 Arkansans. And I don't think people realize who these Arkansans are. I mean, these are people that work, but they're low income earners, and they cannot afford to purchase insurance without help from Medicaid expansion. So I would definitely vote to keep that. As far as the environment and economic development and income inequality, I kind of lump those things together because they do dovetail together really, really well. Environmentally, I subscribe to science, and I think that's important for a legislative person to subscribe to science. I believe that climate change is real and legitimate. Some in the legislature don't believe that. But I think even if you don't believe that, I think we all in Arkansas, this is the natural state. We love Arkansas because it's the natural state. I think we all can agree that we need to be better stewards of our environment, regardless of what you think about climate change. We have to be better stewards so people your generation will continue to enjoy the state, our region and the nation. So I'm extremely proud and pleased, and my chest is puffed out this week because I did get endorsement from the Arkansas Sierra Club because of my environmental platform. So I'm really proud of that. I wanted that really badly. I am for clean, renewable energy. And I think that solar energy is going to be the engine of our future and the engine for economic development in Arkansas and in my district. I don't want my district to be left out of what's going on in solar energy right now. I'm very excited about the possibilities. Last legislative session, I was thrilled because we passed a wonderful bill in the last legislative session. It was Bill 464. And for those of people that are listening who don't know what that is, that reduced the barriers to solar energy that we had erected in the state, and that reduced those barriers. So for the last year, we have seen so many solar projects popping up all over the state because of that bill. And I want to sponsor the next solar energy net metering bill because there's more that we can do to continue this enthusiasm and momentum that we've got going right now. That bill, what it did was it incentivized businesses and municipalities by giving them tax breaks and incentives to install solar. The next thing we can do in our next bill, which I want to sponsor, is we can do the same thing for residential solar. So it would be a win-win for the state and for our district if residential customers could participate in the same way, get incentives and tax breaks to install solar. I've reached out to our college here in Malvern in my district, which is it's ASU Three Rivers, and asked them to please look into the possibility of our own little campus here providing solar installer training. Currently, there's no place to get that in the state. If you look on the map, my district is right in the center of the state. It straddles I-30. Our campus would be the perfect campus for people from all over the state to come and learn to be solar installers. It would really jazz up our economic engine. It would really create jobs that are living wage jobs. So I'm very excited about the possibilities with solar.
Of course, and it sounds like you have a lot of great plans for your district. And today we touched on many different topics. But is there anything else you'd like to add, speak on, or discuss before we hop off today?
Yes, of course. Now that since I've got your attention, there are other things that I'm excited about. I would love to sponsor a surprise medical bill. This is something I've been talking up on the campaign trail. This is something that other states have done. A surprise medical bill is put in place because there's something like 600,000 people a year that have to file bankruptcy because they got sick, they got injured, they went to the hospital, and then they ginned up all these bills that they can't pay, and then they go bankrupt. So a surprise medical bill would protect Arkansans from going bankrupt because they got sick or ill, and it would force hospitals, providers to deal directly with insurance companies to deal with these bills and leave the patient out of it. So I would love to sponsor a surprise medical bill. The other thing is voting. I didn't realize, ashamed to say, until a year ago, I started campaigning and trying to register people to vote, how difficult that is. And how people don't participate. I think, I'm a political junkie and have been since I was 18. I thought everybody loved to vote. In my little district, there are 24,000 people who are eligible to vote. 14,000 people are registered to vote. That is a very sad state of affairs. I've reached out to a lot of young people, such as yourself, young people who your age group are like register to vote and they're not interested in it. It really breaks my heart. And we're going to lose our democracy if we don't get young people interested in the political process. Young people don't like to fill things out and put stamps on them and mail them back. They like to go online. We need to let young people go online and register to vote. Or better yet, when you're 18, we need to opt in everyone and let them opt out if they don't want to vote. So we need to make voting easier, not harder. The woman who is currently our representative sponsored the bill that made it harder to register to vote. Harder to vote because you have to provide more documentation when you go to the polls. I want to make it easier to vote and get people excited about voting. And then the last thing I will say is every 4 years after a presidential election, and I'm sure it's going to be after this presidential election in in November. Every 4 years, we hear people lamenting the fact that we have an electoral college and that it's antiquated, we don't need it. And we get excited about maybe the people in Washington, D.C. will do something about that. You know, let's go to one person, one vote. But that's not happening. So I would like Arkansas to join with other states. There's a thing that's called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. I think 16 states have signed on to this compact. And what it does is it provides an opportunity to circumvent the Electoral College. And the way it works is if you sign on to this compact, then you agree that you're going to spend your electoral votes in your state for the presidential candidate that actually wins the popular vote. So that would make every state more important during the campaign period. Arkansas would be more important than it is now that the presidential candidates ignore us. And it would bring us closer to the republic that we want to have, one person, one vote. So I would love to see us do that. I would love to sponsor that bill. So those are the things that are on my mind. I just want to say again how pleased I am with Paul Pack giving me the opportunity and supporting my opportunity to participate in this historic election that we are in. This is historic, and we all need to go to the polls and vote, or do early voting, or if you've already gotten your ballot, to vote by mail.
For sure. And Joyce, Pack wishes you the best of luck on your campaign. Thank you again for taking the time to come today and just discuss who you are, but also shed some light on your platform. And hopefully the audience is inspired to vote either October 18th or November 3rd, whichever one works for them. But we are really excited to see all the work that you do in your seat. We are hoping for a win, and we are really wishing you the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Of course. And with that, we're going to close off. So thank you, everyone, for watching, and have a great night.